show. That's right. Welcome. Ooh, that was a juicy one. Welcome in. Welcome back, folks, to another edition of Notre Dame Twitter Responds. I think this is going to be really interesting. Let's see what the people think of the direction of the program under Marcus Freeman edition of the Always Irish Show. As always, you can find the program on YouTube. Do it. Subscribe if you haven't yet. Appreciate it very much. Give the video a thumbs up. That helps Yanni Boy out as well. Notifications on it where you alerted every time a new episode drops. I know you don't want to miss it. Twitter. Search bar Always Irish or at Always Irish Inc. Emails alwaysirishnd@gmail.com. Audio only anywhere you want it. You can get it if you don't want to see my face. Nobody blames you for that. The call-in lines, 312-900-8815. Dialed up. Tell Uncle Johnny, oh, you've heard and seen. Patreon.com/alwaysirish. It's the former captain. He's the leading tacker on the team. It's Mike Goolsby and myself breaking it all down. Stay tuned. Got a recruit interview coming up. Very interesting. We're going to have a conversation with a 25 class member. It's going to be good. Thanks to everybody who's over there already. All right. Let's get into the topic of the day. I don't know if it's just my crew. By my crew, I mean the regulars that are on my morning shows, like the regular group of people that are there every time I do a show, and you know their screen names, whatever. I don't know if it's just my people specifically that are in this ecosystem or what. But this time of the year, there's a lot of recruiting worry and discussion, and then not much else going on in the college football landscape. And that leads me and other people's minds to wander. Big picture, worrying about stuff, plus side, downside, what if this, what if that? Like, now's the time for it, in the middle of June, right? And I've gotten a surprising amount of pushback, I'll say, on hesitation to buy in on this Freeman journey trending the right way and clearly heading in the right direction of what this is all going to be. And again, I understand the sample size. Maybe the way I do things lends itself to certain people that are more neutral or glass half empty, not fanboy type stuff, because I don't try and operate that way. And I was really hard on Kelly for a lot of the things he did, and a lot of it was what he didn't do while at Notre Dame. And so I'm open to that like my network is a little specific with the personalities. I don't know. But given that there's been some pushback, and I'm open to it, I'm open to the allegation that I give Freeman more leeway than I gave Kelly on certain things, or that I'm a Freeman homer, so I'm not judging him the way I would judge Kelly because him and I didn't get along personally, whatever. I'm open to all that. I like to think I gotta be the number one person who does this in this niche that's open to a lot of pushback. Like, you got to really cross lines, like racial lines and stuff, for me to ban you. Like, you really got to push it hard and really cross a line. Not just, John, I disagree with you, you're an idiot. I'm open to that. So I think I give people a lot of leeway to get their opinion out, push back on me, come at me, whatever, more than a lot of people do. I'm not quick with the block. You got to really earn it by crossing every line. So what I wanted to do is be very, very general on Twitter and just put out a poll and says, is Notre Dame trending up under Freeman's direction? That simple of a concept, and see where the people took it. So let's bring up the poll. Is Notre Dame trending up under Freeman? 842 votes. Okay, so that's a good sample size for Twitter. You're not dealing with 25 of my closest Freeman-loving friends. So we got 842 votes. 88% say yes, the program's trending up under Freeman. 3% say no. Just under 9% say too early to make a call. 88's pretty high. 88's pretty high. The 9%, too early to make a call. That's a very reasoned middle ground position. I think would be fair, especially if you're somebody who says it takes a few years for the other players from the previous regime to filter through. And then Freeman's guys come later and they need time to get in there before you can decide whatever. Maybe that's where their mind is. But you got 88% yes, 3% no. I want to go over some of the responses here underneath. Those are always fun and interesting. Here's one thing I'm open to on the 88% skewing yes. I'm open to Notre Dame fans like Freeman's personality and that he's a hard worker and they're Varner because the way he operated and talked down to you or whatever. I'm open that this is going to be skewed because of just general Notre Dame people want to be in a good mood. So I'm throwing that out there as like this isn't a scientific, precise project here, experiment, right? So I'm open to the idea that most people want it to be a glass half full. So let's read some of the comments here, see what we got. Andrew Gilmore is one of the people that push back on me on my show. Not a surprise. He's first in the chat here. I'm presenting the other side. How is Freeman chopping down a different aisle, yet losing Justin Scott and Taylor? Top 100 players, both serious positions in need in Notre Dame's backyard. If you can't land them, no big schools are scared to recruit against Freeman. Open invitation in Illinois. I get what we're going for there, but it's also so specific. Like picking that specific angle with those couple kids, there could be a lot of reasons you don't land those guys. Maybe they weren't a good fit for Notre Dame, though, and Notre Dame thought that. Like there's maybe some guys just want to get out of the Midwest. Maybe some of those guys just want to go to warm weather, or get out of Illinois. I don't know. I mean, if you're going to Ohio State, you can't make the weather concern. But that's the issue I have when we nail it down to specific couple recruits. There's a lot of stuff that goes on, and you don't know the reasons it doesn't work out with a specific recruit here or there. So I don't know. Irish vet, thank you for your service. Anyone that answers no and is one of my followers should just go ahead and unfollow me. So there's that. And then, did Michigan cheat? I don't think that's related, but I appreciate the sentiment. Mike says the A&M game will tell us everything we need to know about the future. SEC team, road game, hot, conditioning. The hype is higher than it's ever been this offseason. Will we win this game? It speaks volumes. We lose. We A&M watch all year and get crushed by the media. It's very, very hard to underestimate the needle mover the A&M game is. It is game one. All that momentum is either going to be multiplied in our favor or roll downhill right on our heads. It is that big of a moment. Win the day. It's not getting better. The schedule has gotten easier. Okay, so that's somebody who's on that side of it. I could argue there's a lot of off-the-field things that are trending in a more positive direction since Freeman's arrived than they ever did before as far as modernizing the program in a lot of ways. That would be my pushback to that one. Adam Dowling, he's a regular. The next 2 seasons will tell us everything we need to know about Freeman. This season, it's just starting to become his roster. Brendan McGrath, undeniably, yes. Culturally, Notre Dame's relevant. He's kept ND special while adapting to the fast-changing college football world. Recruiting is vastly different. Coaching staff very solid. None of it matters, though, without quality wins, but Freeman's primed the program for greatness. I think that's very well stated. And I agree with both of these concepts. Number one, he's referencing some of those changes that I see too, some of them more obvious than others. But at the end of the day, all the offseason, behind the scenes, off the field improvement I want to talk about, it's not going to mean anything if you don't start stacking together big time wins and big time seasons. I totally agree with that. All the hard work and the recruiting grinding and the changes to NIL and the transfer portal and a little more flexibility with recruits to get into all that stuff. If you don't win the big games and you're not in the mix, it's ultimately not going to be realized potential. ND forever, all the way up. Temp, still too early, but as of now, off the field, yes. On the field, meh. Same, to be honest, as the last 5 BK teams. I still hold on to hope the OC could change that. We got a lot of people that are middle ground here. Not a lot of fanboys, not a lot of just dumping on Freeman. A lot of middle ground positions here that I respect a lot. Recruiting has absolutely been better. Problem is it takes 2 years for those guys start making contributions. We're just going to start seeing the fruits of the labor soon. Guys like Love and Gray and Young will show out soon enough. That's another reasonable middle ground take. Nick says this is his stepping stone year. Era, Dan Devine, Lou BK all made natty appearances in their third year with 3 out of the 4 winning it all. Again, there's that history with Notre Dame coaches and what year 3 tends to be for those guys. A big demarcation point, for or against. That portends downward throughout their tenure. That's like if you're going to make it, that year 3 is when you usually see that spark. Williams says, I say too early only because the first team are mostly from BK. Now that'll be different after this season. His recruits and staff can keep winning 10-plus games, then yes, it's trending up. Matthew M., is that a real question? Come on now, you're above the clickbait. I'm telling you, Matthew, I kind of thought that too, but then I hear from my callers and the people in my chat, and they're starting to kind of come at you with some concerns. That's why I proposed this question, because it isn't that blanket. Or maybe the people that have the doubts are just all in my show. I don't know. But I kind of thought like Matthew did. I thought it was kind of obvious we're trending in the right direction. Apparently it isn't. That's why I asked the question. All the way up, somebody else says. Craig says, 9-4, 10-3 with the 2 best recruiting classes since 2010. Has more big-time wins than BK did his first 2 years. That's accurate. A win at A&M or USC will get him that big road game victory. Most importantly, he's focused on the culture and traditions around Notre Dame. I'd say yes. Coach says, I think week 1 is so huge this year. It really could opening the recruiting floodgates if we're a legitimate playoff contender right off the bat. Deontay says, yes, but it could crash real quick. And that I find really interesting. And it's kind of more of what I thought. If you lose week 1, all the air's coming out of the balloon. All the excitement is deflated. The negativity is going to be ratcheted to 100. If we win, it's off to the races. You have playoff dreams. It's the week 1 part of this is such a big deal. Week 1 is the week for overreactions. All the articles and podcasts and everything you see are going to be after week 1. Who's good and who's bad off week 1. Nothing else matters. Whatever. Look at people wrote Alabama off after week 1 last year, and then they just found a way to win, even if it was ugly, to get down the road enough to be back in the mix. Week 1 results are always amplified in outsized, unreasonable amount for and against whatever happens. It's practical and perceptual for Notre Dame in week 1. We're all saying you got to get a home playoff game. Well, you got to be 11-1 or better for that. And if you lose week 1, it's really hard to go 11-1 the rest of the way. You got to win out. That week 1 tipping point, you want to say, like, it's not fair to put so much weight on a week 1 result. Like, that's your mature inclination. man, that's just where people are going to be at. Media and fans, that's just where people are going to be at. It is time for Notre Dame to change the narrative. And the only way you change that narrative is you go in the SEC and you beat an SEC team at their place week 1 and you let it be known right away. Notre Dame's going to be a problem this year and piss everybody off. Piss everyone off. That's what I need to see week 1. I need it. I need it. And so it's really interesting how much is riding on that week. And again, man, week 1, I say it before all of Notre Dame's week 1 games, as long as I've been doing this show. What, 8 years now? Whatever it is. There is a certain percentage of inherent randomness to week 1 that could be good or bad, work for you or against you. The littlest thing in week 1. Miscommunication, a bad snap count, and the quarterback's not ready for it, and it goes over his head, and it's a scoop and score, and you lose the game. That would never happen in week 6, but it happens in week 1. There's all sorts of little random stuff that could go for or against you in a week 1 game that wouldn't happen the rest of the year. Which team is most ready for this big of a moment? And I'm sorry. Bring out your Always Irish bingo card. It is year 3, week 1 for Marcus. It is year 1, week 1 for A&M with 30 guys that left in the portal, 30 coming in, Elko trying to figure everything out. If Notre Dame's not in a more stable place, that's a big red flag. I think it is totally 100% fair to expect Notre Dame to be more put together in this moment than A&M. It's year 3, game 1, not year 1, game 1. To me, that's a huge difference in where your program and the readiness for this moment and the staff knowing what they have in this moment to be able to bring to the table. Like, you should just be way further ahead, and I expect that. And if not, it's a big red flag, and I'm with the people that are nervous. You got to have this looking all put together for week 1. Offense and defense, not just one side. So, really interesting discussion. And I admit on a personal level, I struggle because people know that I like Freeman personally and the way he does things a lot more than I did the last guy. That's a challenge for me. Because when I say positive things, people are like, well, how much of it is real and how much of it is you have a personal affinity for this guy? And that's something that I got to deal with as a content guy and a writer, is that specific challenge. People knowing that I like the way this guy operates more than the last guy. How much is that tainting my neutral view on things? And that's my situation to deal with. And I'm trying to work through that and be fair to everybody involved. But really, really interesting discussion. Keep the phone calls coming. I'm open to them. Let me know what you guys think.